On another occasion, he reportedly was spotted going through a back door into the woman's young daughter's bedroom. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. If you have a home security system or a doorbell camera, you've probably received notifications before that you didn't expect, and it might be someone dropping off a delivery or maybe just the wind. That was not the case when single mom Marie Columna says she got a notification in November of 2023 when she was out of town. Inside her kitchen, this is what she saw. A man with a flashlight inside her home. She told a local TV station in Virginia she was yelling as she watched this play out inside her kitchen. And then, the part that was even more shocking is she knew exactly who this person was.
We raise as one body, under one head, in the power of one spirit, and we walk into the midst of a broken world.
This is Sergio Guardia. And this is video on YouTube of him preaching in 2020 at the Fellowship Community Church in Virginia. Guardia was once a minister at the Thomas Road Baptist Church in Lynchburg, Virginia, according to WSET-TV. That church is one of the most celebrated churches in the Baptist faith. It sits on the campus of Liberty University. It was founded by the late Jerry Falwell Sr. Local media says that Guardia is no longer a pastor at Thomas Road Baptist Church, but Columna says he was when she was a member of the congregation until 2016. She told WSET-TV that she left the church because he made her feel uncomfortable multiple times. She said that Guardia first said he wanted to help her when she got a divorce, but then he started to stalk her and did so for about 6 years until she left that church. She said she then cut off communication with Guardia and his family. And yet, at 11:30 p.m. on November 10th, 2023, there he was in her kitchen carrying a flashlight dressed in sweats. And if this story couldn't get more shocking and disturbing, Guardia then came back for more. This is video of the next night, and it shows the pastor entering Columna's house through the back door. She says that door leads right into her 17-year-old daughter's room, and as you watch this video, you can see that flashlight that Guardia was holding shining around the bedroom. Columna says that she was alerted again that someone was inside her house. The next part of the video shows what the Ring doorbell saw when officers responded to her home. Guardia was arrested and charged with 2 counts of burglary and 2 counts of stalking. He was just convicted of all charges on March 12th. It's unclear what his motive was for breaking into her house multiple times. His former employer, the famous Thomas Road Baptist Church, has not issued a statement on their former pastor's actions. He was not employed by the church at the time of his arrest. Columna told WSET-TV that she raised concerns about Guardia's behavior to the church before she left the congregation in 2016, but she says the church continued to support their pastor. In the wake of Guardia's conviction this month, Columna posted this on social media, a link to an article about the conviction with the caption, quote, "It will just go away. That's the pattern." It is possible that Guardia will spend time behind bars. His sentencing is scheduled for August. Columna said to WSET that the verdict gives her a sense of power again, saying, quote, "I do feel like I've gotten my power back, power that he took." One of the stories that we cover here on Law and Crime prove it's that life's unpredictable and having a great attorney matters. And that's where we bring in our partner and sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. This is a law firm with more than 1,000 attorneys and a history of winning. Just in the past couple of months, they were able to secure a $9.3 million verdict For a car crash victim in Florida, $5.6 million for a car accident victim in Atlanta, and $1.8 million in Kentucky. And in that case, the insurance company was only going to offer $5,000. Now, even if you don't think your case is worth millions of dollars, why not fight for what you deserve? Morgan & Morgan makes it so easy to file a claim. Just look at this video. I did it myself. It's with 8 easy clicks on your phone. So if you're hurt, head over to forthepeople.com/OTC to file a claim, but also you can scan this QR code on your screen or click the link in the description below. Joining me now is retired NYPD Detective David Sarney to talk more about what is a shocking and bizarre case. You end up getting this Ring doorbell camera, which is really the clear piece of evidence that he was inside the home. But what do you make of this story? And this apparently went on for years.
Yeah, this, again, thank you for having me. This is a Lifetime movie, and this is what you see. Unfortunately, this is not unusual, where there's a fixation by one person to another. But the amount of time that he's been doing this, it seems to be going on for years. The stalking that he did prior to being caught on video, the ability to actually, the victim here didn't feel that she would be believed the way he responded, the way he acted toward her during this, prior to the burglary. And it's unfortunate we see this more and more time and time again, where this fixation becomes an obsession. The obsession, fortunately he's arrested, but again, orders of protection and time served and all these things, it's, you can only do so much. And I feel bad for, this woman who had to actually move away several times, rejected him. This guy became an obsessive compulsive behavior, stalking her as long as he did. And, ruined, it's put her in, in such harm's way, in a sense, that she's so fearful. It's sad. It's a tragedy. You see these things happen, and it's not just the first time. It's time and time again when you see these people go, when you see this obsession get to this level.
And part of it too, I mean, he was a pastor. I mean, he's someone who, if you're someone who's a member of a congregation, you go to service on Sunday or whatever day of the week, I mean, this is the person you look up to. And then how does that power dynamic come into play in these cases where here's someone who is in a position of power, or at least someone that the congregation looks up to, who's then acting like this, and then eventually inside her kitchen?
Well, there's a feel of this feeling of invulnerability, where you're a superpower, it's like a superhero, that no one's going to look upon you as a bad person. We see this relationship sometimes with teacher-student, supervisor to subordinate, and in this case, a pastor of a highly recognized church, and who's beyond reproach, it seems, by the congregation at hand. So when this woman, brings this to their attention, they ignore it. And that gives him authority, and I think it emboldened him to go even further than just, watching her. Now you're going into her house. So this is where he felt that he could do anything he wanted to do. And this is that dynamic we see with relationships and power relationships, where I could do whatever I want and no one's going to believe her. And she's divorced, a single mother, she's a former congregant, and the church sees her as not, her opinion is not valid. And it's fortunate that this happened, that way he got caught criminally.
Yeah, and I think too, in kind of going to that power dynamic, is apparently it was when she ends up getting divorced, and here's this pastor who she says wants to help her. So I'm gonna help you, and then suddenly it goes down this path that she didn't want, to the point that she left this church and left having him be her pastor. When you see these stalking cases, how often does it start like that, where, hey, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna help you out, and then suddenly get to a point where it just goes to an area, in this case, in a criminal area that played out?
Each relationship is different, in a sense. The emboldenment by this, and his relationship with her, was that power thing, where she was looking for him for answers and for assistance and for guidance, and he took advantage of that. And whatever obsession he had with her was just exacerbated by that power he had over her as being her pastor at this church. And, time and time, you see these people who are victimized by these higher level authorities. We see it, and I said this is not unusual. It's just the fortunate thing, it became criminal. And it is criminal, depending on what state you're in as far as this stalking and harassment. But she didn't feel confident or comfortable to pursue it further prior to this burglary that he conducted.
David, another part of this, I mean, the whole story is shocking, but the fact that he was in the kitchen, sees the surveillance video, runs out, clearly he was shocked by that. He comes back for more the next night, and then you see video of him going in through a back door that, according to the mom, actually led to her teenage daughter's room. First off, just how common is it to actually see someone who would do this one time come back and do it again?
What we've seen, unfortunately, with celebrities, we see these stalkers, these repetitive stalkers, they continue to do it, regardless of being arrested or not. And that's something that is a scary factor. And here's the fact, even worse, is now this person is in a higher level, in a sense, community-wise. So he's a higher level member of the community that no one can think he's going to do this. And that's where he feels the invulnerability. He doesn't feel like he's going to get in trouble for this. And he doesn't think what he's doing is criminal. He just got caught. So now, this is where, fortunately, it became criminal. He didn't think it would be. He just continually does these actions over and over again. And I guarantee you, he was sitting in front of the house prior to this, watched everything. We don't know how long he's been there. I don't know how extensive the case is going to be, regardless of that. He's been arrested and convicted of the burglary. But I don't know if it will stop him directly, because we've seen stalkers in the past who have been arrested. Whatever celebrity has had that happen to, and witnesses and the like have had that happen. Will it stop? That paper is only as good as the paper is. And if he's actually a man of God, he'll stop doing what he's doing. And that's what you're looking to do. Hopefully it will end for this young lady who doesn't have to deal with this person anymore.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, not to be dramatic about it, but if she had been home when he had done this, and maybe he went into the house because he knew she was gone. She was out of town with friends. But so often I feel like in these stalking cases, it's not just, oh, this guy's a little creepy because he's inside somebody's home, where it could actually be a violent and dangerous situation if it's not stopped soon enough.
Yep. And that's the thing. We don't know what level it was going to. Apparently he's been in the house before. He accessed her computer. He's been there. He doesn't feel that what he's doing is wrong. She's confronted him a few times, and he's kind of pushed her off to saying, this is not how it is. I'm glad to see you. If an absolute rejection took place and she was home at that time, who knows how he'd respond? Yeah. This has been consistent. I mean, we don't know how far it would have gone if he wasn't caught on video. Exactly. And that's the good thing, and that's the benefit of this woman who put the cameras in, not for the stalking, but to protect herself from break-ins in the neighborhood.
Right.
And it was fortunate that they got the guy for doing this. And he's been there before. I guarantee you he's been there prior to her not being there. And that's why he felt so comfortable at one point to go in there. And the camera surprised him. So that meant he knew he's been there before, and all of a sudden he sees the camera, he was shocked. So he's probably been there. Will they pursue the case any further? The statute of limitations based on the stalking prior, I don't know. But you have him on this case. Hopefully that piece of paper will actually create that barrier. And, now the church is on, the church is now going to be recognized that you have a person who's now a convicted burglar, a minister. What do you do with this? Do you keep him in the fold? Do you keep him as that minister? Do you keep him as a pastor? Or do you remove him? This is what you have to look at as far as this church is concerned. But now you have to worry about how will he respond in kind to the arrest, the conviction, and whether aftermath the church will have against him. This woman is going to be living this nightmare for a while.
Yeah, and it's unclear. I mean, I feel like we've talked about domestic violence cases where it's kind of that saying, like, the piece of paper is only as good as what it is. The court may say you have to stay away from this person. It is possible, if not likely, he'll spend time behind bars when he's sentenced for this. But even to that point, I mean, how often in these stalking cases, I mean, if he spends, I believe the maximum is 10 years in prison, And that's certainly 10 years that she can feel relief knowing that he's not going to be outside of her house or inside of her house for that matter. But still, how do you stop these people once he gets out to have that infatuation again to continue to do this? I mean, how often does a prison sentence actually send the message to someone that they need to stop doing this?
And we've had stalkers, and I say celebrity stalkers. We've arrested them. They've been arrested. They've served time in jail or prison. And does it stop them? You know, the mental health is a big issue. And this is a mentally ill individual who's obsessed over this woman. And to what level he will learn his lesson depends on what he feels about prison. And when he gets out, what is going to be the response by the church? Are they going to accept him back? And does he actually feel remorse, and is it going to stop his action? We've seen career criminals who've been arrested, convicted, and go out 6 months later, a month later, the next day, and do it again. Will he again go on that obsession route that he's been with her in the past? Maybe mental health treatment could be within his time in prison, but it only holds as much as this person wants it to hold.
Certainly in this case, you have the Ring doorbell, which is that clear piece of evidence that he was in the home, that he had trespassed onto the property and led to his conviction. Just generally speaking, how has Ring and then all these different doorbell cameras that you have, or surveillance cameras that are just so small you can put them in your house, how has that changed the game for law enforcement when it comes to investigating cases like this?
Extremely beneficial. Now, because, witness ID is always a little bit weaker form of identification. Now you're having video to enhance that witness identification, that they saw a person. And she identified him by looking at the video and going, saw the photo still and go, that's my pastor. So it's beneficial for law enforcement because it's another tool in the belt, another way to deal with these prosecutions of cases and evidence. This is another form of evidence that we have. I will tell you this, if we didn't have the video camera, that Ring camera there, he would have gotten away with it. And how far this has been extended after this incident, no one knows. The benefit is it was there, was utilized as evidence to further this case and to get the conviction. So that's a great thing about all these video cameras are out there. People worry about Big Brother and like, but the reality is we're not looking at these cameras to, harm people. We're looking to find people who are committing crimes. That's what we're looking to do. No one's looking to see to identify somebody. That's not how we do it. We want to, if there's a criminal act taking place, those Ring cameras, those surveillance cameras you're outside are beneficial to law enforcement in the arrest and also furthering the prosecution, because unfortunately we need more evidence when we come to these cases, and that's what the prosecutions are looking for.
Yeah, how would you investigate these cases in the years prior to having the world that we live in now, where it seems like everybody has cameras, whether in their home or at least on the doorbell when someone comes in?
Yeah, well, I'll just say stalking cases. Some of those stalking cases weren't even on the books for a long time. People could be followed to their job, to their location, and there was nothing the law enforcement could do. These tools in the investigative process, these items, these beats of evidence, we have forensic evidence, video evidence. It betters the cases against these individuals who commit these crimes, because a lot of times those videos, even if they don't identify the person directly, there's something that they may be wearing that's identifiable, that may be consistent with a pattern type of incident, a pattern burglary, a pattern robbery, pattern shooting, whatever it's going to be. It's beneficial because after the fact, she wasn't home when this happened, and that Ring camera and those surveillance cameras she has in her house helped. I've had case where a person was burglarized. They put a camera into their house. We catch a burglar, and apparently the burglar was there prior. And the reason why the victim put the camera in their house was they were burglarized. And what happened is that person who burglarized their house on the time we have on video, he also burglarized it prior to. So that's beneficial for us because that's another piece of evidence that we could pursue in the identification of the perpetrator, the suspects, and eventually perpetrators to prosecute.
Because I just imagine for this woman, it was 11:30 p.m. that she gets the notification on her phone that there's something moving inside of her house. Then you open up the camera, you can have it right in the palm of your hand. and there's your pastor with a flashlight in the kitchen. I mean, terrifying, but fortunately she wasn't there. What are some of the other pieces of evidence that, beyond the camera, that you would need to get a conviction in these types of cases?
Well, the best is she had an identification. She knew who that person was. We would probably do an extended video canvas and looking for other cameras in the area, looking for other people who might have heard something or saw something, either an eyewitness or an ear witness. Things that would look at anything, trace evidence. Sometimes people will leave items at the home that don't belong to the individual, to the victim. So we always look at everything. We do, we would walk through the apartment or walk through the house to see if there's anything that has been moved, anything that is missing, and anything that does not belong there that has been left there. In other words, have the suspect left something behind? And that's beneficial to us. Cases like these burglary cases, that's what you look for in these investigations. And witnesses are great and all that, but this helps seal the deal in a sense, that you have this type of video evidence and an identification. Because, sometimes we don't know who the perpetrator is, but that video footage put out into the internet and to Crime Stoppers and the like helps us identify the individual, and then we can look to deal with the arrest, the apprehension, and later on the interrogation and the prosecution.
And lastly, David, what would be your advice to someone who might be watching this? Maybe they feel like they're in a situation where they're being stalked, or they have someone who's obsessed with them. Maybe it hasn't crossed the line yet to be criminal, or they don't have a Ring doorbell camera, but they think something's going on. At what point do you contact the police and let them know that something may be up?
Well, each state has different laws of harassment and stalking. The best to do is always have documentation. Some sort of documentation, video, audio, if it's emails, keeping that, even though you might be upset that it's there, we need that to pursue it, to show a pattern of harassment, a pattern of stalking. Because, one-time deal, that may not be enough. What is the evidence to support your stating, or that victim stating to us, that they're being stalked or being harassed? And that's what we look for, because evidence is important. Just the person's word isn't always necessarily the way of doing it. We need different parts of evidence, different pieces. That's why documentation, video evidence, photos, emails, anything that you feel, if you're feeling that you're being stalked, document it. And that way, when you go to the police, you have something to them. Because unfortunately, that's been the problem in the past, is we didn't have enough evidence, and the crime wasn't even on the books at that time. But now it is, because unfortunately, we've had some really disastrous results from stalking and from stalkers in the past. Just protect yourself, document everything.
Yeah, and unfortunately in this case, it ended in a conviction and not something any worse. And some shocking video of what took place inside that house. Retired NYPD Detective David Sarney, always great to have you on Law and Crime. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Take care. Stay safe.
Guardia is set for sentencing on August 20th, and he could face up to a decade in prison. For On the Case, presented by Law